Running a micro bakery is all about precision, efficiency, and consistency. In this video, I'm gonna share 10 essential tools that I use in the micro bakery to keep things running smoothly. And stick around to the end because you don't wanna miss the bonus tip. Before I get started, every micro bakery needs a good baking table, and I'm gonna assume that you've already been baking, so I'm gonna leave things out like small wares, things like dough scrapers, bench scrapers, and just general tools that you probably already have if you're baking. If you don't know me, my name is Matthew Duffy. We created this baking studio over 3 years ago, and I've been teaching people how to bake bread for over 15 years. I've also been selling bread at farmers markets and pop-ups, local communities doing events for almost 20 years. Now let's jump into essential tool number 1. The first tool you're gonna need in your micro bakery is a scale. Now, if you've already been baking sourdough or any breads for that matter, you probably already have a scale. If not, you need to get one. The thing is when you start to scale your baking, no pun intended, you're gonna need a scale that has a larger capacity. This is my scale of choice, but it only goes up to 8,000 grams. So depending on how much you're making, how many breads, how much dough you're mixing, you might wanna look into an even bigger one. There are some occasions where I have to put it on and measure into 2 containers, maybe with the whole wheat flour, then the regular flour, or whatever that is. Second tool that I highly recommend, again, you probably already have this if you're baking sourdough, is a thermometer. Now this is gonna help you be consistent with your bakes, which is especially important if you're going to be selling or providing this for your community. You want the breads to be on point. If you're unfamiliar with desired dough temperature, how to calculate it, what it is, I'll leave a link in the description below to an article on my website teaching you exactly everything you need to know about DDT. So I'm gonna have my dough here at 28.5, which is great. Now the third thing, you can probably already see it, is you're gonna need some Cambros or storage container. I like Cambro. I've got flours in Cambro. I measure into Cambro. I build my starter into a Cambro. I've actually got all my stuff underneath in storage with Cambro. Now the fourth thing isn't exactly a tool that you're gonna use physically, but it's so important. This is recipes. So you're going to need recipes that are easy to scale so you can adjust your baking accordingly. It's also helpful to have the percentages so that you can make little adjustments. Maybe you wanna add some inclusions to your dough, maybe you want more water, maybe you wanna add more whole grains, whatever that looks like in your baking. I've actually used this clipboard for years, and every time I do a recipe, I print out the recipe, and I tend to make notes on it, and then every now and then I'll update it or fix it. And these are sort of standard recipes I make. Here you've got marble rise, 16 loaves. I can adjust the total quantity. I can adjust the loaf size. I've actually assembled a booklet that has my 30 best, well, technically 36 best recipes for micro bakery. I'll leave that in the description below. So if you really want to accelerate your baking and your micro bakery, this is a great way to get started. These are recipes that I use all the time, and I've tested them over and over. Next up, we're gonna need a mixer. Now, mixing is so important. You can definitely start a micro bakery mixing by hand, which is what I used to do. I actually used to mix the doughs in this big tub, and I would mix 3 of these at a time, mixing 20, 30, 40 loaves of bread, sometimes more. The mixer is really gonna help you learn how to become a better baker, and it's gonna lighten your workload. This is kind of like an extra hand in the kitchen. So I'm gonna add my flours here, and what I'm making is a whole wheat multi-grain bread today. So we've got a grain soaker that I did overnight and some levain that's ready to go. I've got my flour and water in, and I'm gonna allow this to mix until just combine to start our autolyse process. Autolyse, depending on where you are, who you're talking to, a lot of bakers in large production skip this step because it just slows down the bakery. For me, I actually find it is very helpful because I'm usually only mixing 1 or 2 doughs at a time, and it really fits my schedule. But that said, you do what's best for you. The next tool while our dough is mixing is a timer. I use timers for absolutely everything. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 timers actually, and I like these extra loud big timers so I can hear them. My typical way to do this is when I set the timer, I place it with whatever it should be with. So if I have 3 doughs, I'll put the timer on the dough because otherwise I'll forget. Now, there's lots of free apps you can get on your phone for timers. There's all different sorts of brands of timers. This is just my preferred one. I don't like using the apps because I don't like using the phone all the time because you get it dirty and you shouldn't really be touching your phone, then the food, and that's a whole nother story. So I've set the timer here for 20 minutes. As the dough mixes, I just kind of monitor where I'm at. And now I really look at the dough and the stages of gluten development instead of how much time it is, but this is a general guideline. And then we'll use the timer again to manage our bulk fermentation. These two tools kind of go hand in hand, and it's really gonna help you learn how to make better bread. So after about 5 minutes, I'm gonna add the salt to my dough. Of course, the salt is scaled from my recipe we talked about earlier. And now I can kind of gauge the stages of gluten development based on how much time has passed. This is a multi-grain sourdough. We've added the levain, mix that in for 5 minutes, add the salt, mix that in for 5 minutes. Then we're gonna add the water too. And then finally, we're gonna add the grains. Now, if you wanna learn this recipe, I've got another video on my main feed showing you from start to finish how to make it. So for mixers, as a general rule, you can scale down to 10%, which means a 10-kilo mixer, the smallest amount of dough you could make is 1 kilo. That said, it depends on if the dough is super wet, super dry. I mix my starter for Banneton here, and it's just a small one, and it works quite well. So I'm gonna add, well, half my grain soaker, and then we'll add the rest after. So the dough's done mixing, and we're gonna take it out and put it into this tub. Now, this would fall into the Cambro category. I don't know if this is actually a Cambro, but I use this bus bin. It's usually used for washing dishes or storing dishes in the restaurant. And so to take the dough out, we're just gonna pinch off a big chunk, and hopefully, if you mixed it properly, you should be able to get big old pieces out like that. Dough is out of the mixer. Gonna use my thermometer again. You can see there's a theme here. The temperature of the dough is gonna dictate how long I bulk ferment. I'm usually looking for 26 to 28 degrees. We're 28.5. So I'm gonna set my timer for 2 hours and 45 minutes. Set this off to the side, and I'll give it a couple folds before it gets shaped. After that, it's gonna go in the fridge overnight, but I just happen to have a dough that I made yesterday for today's bake, so we're gonna roll right into the next tool. I like to clean the mixer right after mixing so that it doesn't get crusty. I find it way easier to clean, and now this isn't in my list of must-haves, but this is actually a must-have for any bread baker. This is a dough scrubby, a perforated cloth, or whatever you wanna call a hold cloth, soapy water and a Cambro, and this is a game changer for cleaning your mixer, your bowls, your hands, whatever. Not included, but should be included, and I'll leave a link for this in the description below. Micro bakery essential number 7 is a dedicated fridge. Now, the most important thing is you're gonna want a place to hang up your child's artwork. Very important. But secondly, this allows me to make multiple doughs. I've actually got bread dough here. This is a 50% whole wheat sourdough. We've got pizza dough here. I've even got some soup I made for my family, and then just some drinks and stuff in the bottom. Now, I keep the bottom half for drinks, doughs, whatever, and the top half is usually for doughs. But this allows me to manage my baking schedule, so I can bake 4 loaves at a time, 9 at a time, and they're not all overproof. For many years, I worked on a really old home fridge, broken, and I only recently upgraded to this Horizon series beverage air fridge from Garland, Canada. Shout out to Garland, not sponsored, but awesome that they hooked up this fridge. And it's been an absolute game changer. So it's really expensive to get a good fridge. When you're first starting out, for sure, just grab yourself a used fridge, put 1 in your garage, put 2 in your garage, whatever you need. And if you can, level up to this. Next up is tool number 8, which is a Banneton. Now, I made some 50% whole wheat breads yesterday. There's 20 in the fridge for today's bake. And you're gonna need a Banneton. I prefer Batard. I like the shape, I like the their ratio of crust to crumb. I generally like them better. They also tend to fit my fridge better, so I can fit more breads. For a really long time, I used these long ones, and I recently got these short ones, and I actually like the short ones because, again, I can just fit more in the fridge. There's not one that performs better than the other, but from a spacing point of view, this is really good. If you're interested in learning more about Bannetons, how to clean them, how to use them, I've got another video from start to finish, and I'll put that up here, or maybe up here, somewhere up here. You can click one of those and it'll take you right to the video. So I'm gonna get some breads out and we're gonna get ready to bake. The ninth thing you're gonna need is a bread oven. Now, for years, I baked out of Dutch ovens. I've used all the methods, open bake, Dutch oven, but no matter what you do, you're mostly limited to 4 loaves of bread at a time, likely 2. Maybe if you're doing pan loaves, you could fit 5 or 6 depending on your oven. But if you really want to get serious about your micro bakery, you need a bread oven. Now, I'll use the Simply Bread oven. In my opinion, it's the best micro bakery oven. I've got another video showing you how I use it from start to finish, and another video showing the unboxing. So let's take them out. Not included, these gloves. Normally, to be honest, I just take the breads out with my bare hands, but I thought because I'm making a video and I don't want you to think I'm an idiot, I'll use the gloves. So we're gonna take our breads out. These are the 50% whole wheat sourdoughs that I baked, that I mixed yesterday. And tomorrow's bread was what we just mixed and shaped, the multigrain. These breads look pretty awesome. I love the color. And this is really just one of my favorite breads to make. I actually have a video making this dough from way back. So we'll get these out of the oven and then we'll talk about the 10th thing and my bonus tip. So the bread oven is a game changer. I can bake 12 breads at a time, steam injected, and I mean, just look at how these breads come out. They're absolutely beautiful. And it's really about your time. If you're gonna be baking that much bread, you really need a dedicated oven. Now, the 10th thing that you're gonna need is some kind of packaging. So how are you gonna sell the breads? How are you gonna package them? For years, we were getting bags from Creative Bags, which is a great resource, but they're actually a bit cheaper at Costco Business Center. So now we've been getting bread bags at Costco Business Center. Throw them in here. I've also got some of the bags we use for pastries, some baguette bags. If you want, of course, you could get a stamp or something with your logo on it to, you know, put on the bags. Maybe you want to put your social handle, ways to promote it. We run this through a private WhatsApp group. And that actually leads me to my bonus item. The 11th thing you need is some form of distribution. Now, personally, I wouldn't rely on social media to sort of market your breads. The method that we've been doing for over 5 years is WhatsApp, and we invite members to a private WhatsApp group. Then my wife will put a notification about what the drop is. Hey everyone, this week we'll have bread on this day, and this day. The breads will be A, B, and C. And then on the day of, she'll remind everyone, coming today at 3 p.m., there's a drop for the bread, or at 10 a.m. or whatever. Then we open up the WhatsApp group. Now, come with me. So this is definitely not the easiest way to do this, and there's a lot of apps that can do this for you, including Hotplate, but this is free, and it's honestly worked for us for so long. Our micro bakery community is only 300 people, and we're picky who we allow into the community. It's only friends and family for us. So it's a really great way for us to do it. So what I'll do is, my daughter's actually written a to-do list here, because she wanted to help out. But what we'll do is we'll say the name of the drop. So we'll say 50% whole wheat. And then we'll just write the numbers down, 1, 2, all the way down, how many loaves there are. Open the WhatsApp group, people order it, and we'll just write their name, Matt, and so on. Then when people come and they pay, we cross it off. If you want to collect payments through the app, a lot of apps will do that for you. We prefer cash, and that's how we run everything. So that is my last tip for you. Hopefully this helps you on your micro bakery journey. If you like this video, do me a favor and subscribe. It helps other users find me. And if you really like the content, I send a weekly newsletter to over 13,000 and growing bakers, and it has recipes, tips, tricks, how to scale your baking, and everything you really need to know, all the way from beginner to micro baker. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.